Good day or good evening for whoever will watch this video, and very close to receiving the controller. We're talking about maybe today, maybe tomorrow. Whenever it gets here, I'm going to take a couple of days to study it properly, so before I connect anything to it and make sure we're not going to get the genie out of the bottle, because it's you cannot put the genie back when it comes out of the bottle. So, I like to thank also all the people or the comments. So, I would say a large majority of the comment are very, encouraging and supportive and all that stuff, and I appreciate all that. I mean, the odd comment here and there when it's not so encouraging, and well, I just laugh at it. It's like it's better than watching a soap opera when you see people, arguing in their reply. Having a bit of a problem against with YouTube, as usual. Dave's blocking, I guess. It's very simple when you're having comment, and your hit goes up, and the comment follow pretty much about maybe a tenth or maybe 15% of the hits, and then suddenly everything stopped, just stopped. It's like everybody put the brakes on, which is not really logical that suddenly everybody decided just to stop commenting or watching the video. But that's okay. That's the way I use YouTube like toilet paper. So when you finish using it, well, you flush it down, right? So. But anyway, it's very important for people to understand, and I mean very important. You never know. Now I'm literally breaking the door of all the loose secret when it comes to where the energy is. The energy has been tried to be explained by many scientists, but it's not as complicated that the scientists say it is. It's two types of resonance, and again, I'm very strong on putting the word resonance. When I say resonance, it's not a sine wave. If it was a sine wave, it was so easy because we have the instrument to be able to see it. But the instrument to be able to see or to detect resonance, we do have. They just been I would say, purposely reworded to mean something else. So in other words is, we have a problem with the explanation. What they said it is not what it is, right? Like I explained before. If I take an object and I change the name of the object in my little world here, in my little office, and I'm going to use a special word for that object, my own word, and then someone come here and I say, can you pass me that object? And I say my own word to that object, he cannot find it. It's invisible to him, and it's right in front of his face. He probably will move it with his hand looking for underneath where that object I'm asking, right? So we know how easy it is. It's been done for centuries. Matter of fact, it's part of the black magic, literally. It's an old trick, very old trick. I know that because I grew up. My family came from, Shikutsumi and Rivière du Loup. Well, if you want to have any more black magic and white magic, in North America, that's where you go. You go in Quebec, and those two cities, Rivière du Loup and Shikutsumi. In the old days, that was, random black magic and white magic. And my dad was, had some very powerful knowledge. Anybody who could if he hurt himself around him and he was bleeding dramatically, my dad could stop the blood immediately. It would just stop. If for some reason he just seemed to cauterize, or not cauterize, but because cauterize it would be burning, but create that gelatin fiber into the wound immediately, so the person wouldn't bleed to death. So they had time to go see a doctor, or, or to get fixed. I cannot achieve that. My dad was the seventh son of a seventh son, and when I look into my family, since there's a lot of brothers, since all my brother can be my dad, that's how much difference we had in time, because I was an accident. Was not supposed to happen, but it happened for some reason, and I find out I'm the seventh son of the seventh son. So whatever way it does, I don't worry too much about it, but I know I can stop my own blood. I can cut myself and it won't be no blood coming out unless I let it do it. And sometimes it's better to bleed than not to bleed, because when you're not bleeding, you holding whatever bacteria you had on the parts that would cut your finger or cut your hand, whatever. Sometimes the blood push that out, so it's always good to bleed a little bit. Don't worry, you're not going to die. It can make your blood pretty fast. Beside that, to be a kind of a weirdo, because that's what I think I put myself into the weird parts of the world, the weirdo parts of the world. The energy is very simple, right? You have a low tone or a low volume of resonance, which is, we call it ground. The word ground means business, because ground, it is related to the word growl. Growl is a sign from listening from an animal growl at you. It means business. It bring its voice or its sound to a very low cycle. So so that's mean I have power. If you screw with me, you will find out how much power I have. That's what an animal will do. Well, the earth, it's the same thing. The low frequency have tremendous amount of power. So is the high frequency. But they cannot create power unless you manipulate them and make them to join hand. And that's why when you're spinning a shaft, you create two vortex, a counterclockwise vortex and a clockwise vortex. And those vortex, they're like, faster you spin that shaft, longer and bigger the vortex will be. And it goes all the way up smaller to the shaft, because the shaft is the beginning of the vortex, is a vacuum. It's like a vacuum cleaner, right? And when you have a big, large orifice on the front of the vacuum cleaner, but it always goes down to the size of the pipe. So when you create this vortex, now I find out create a vortex with an horizontal shaft, it's not as good as a vertical shaft. Well, because the vortex have to create by itself, you have to force it. It doesn't want to bend, but you have to it's got to bend. So it puts some more stress, some more resistance on the shaft. So you need more power to turn it. That's why those big power plant, the first power plant Tesla built, all this shaft was horizontal. Is we call it generator head, right? We'll use that generator head again, because it's not a generator, it's literally a pump. The head will create the energy, or not create energy, or literally pump the energy in, is on the top, and then the water turbine is in the bottom, right? And if you flow more water, you spin faster, you can maintain the pressure, the energy you manufacture, you can maintain that pressure as the demand is. So now, how we turn this double vortex into a usable energy? Well, we have to mutate it, and it's a mutation you have to do with it. If you don't mutate it, all you're going to get is a double helix sine wave, and I believe some of the pump you can make multiple helix wave. It all depends how you generate it, how the head is wind and how the winding is connecting with each other. And I because I saw if you take a burn fluorescent tube, doesn't have to be very long, 24 inches, right? A fluorescent tube, 24 inches long, and you induce a current from that pump, and you hook up the other side of the pump to the other one, you bring the voltage roughly around about 600 volts into the tube. Suddenly it light up. See, I mean, what is burned in your fluorescent tube is not the tube itself, is those tiny little discs on each end of it, which is run by an AC current, that's why it burns up, because it heats up. We're using AC at that point in time. And that too, I don't use AC, I use a non-energy release, and it's like, you know, a raw form of energy sine wave into it. And what's happening is the light, when you put that on it, the light will pop out, it would show up, you know, the fluorescent will light up, and you let the fluorescent bring into itself to a temperature, because temperature, is very important also. It's not just there for the hell of it, it's got its own importance. And then after that, when it's the temperature of the thing, it's been running, like, you know, for a minute, you start slowing down the pump, you know, the head, whatever you want to call it, you slow it down, and then suddenly, just to the point where the fluorescent were turned off, you've got a very narrow window. You can bring the voltage up and down till you hit that window, and suddenly you will see two helix, one coming this way, right, from one side of the pump, and from the other wire, which is supposed to be a neutral, you'll see the other helix going the other way. So they crisscross each other, and you can see, because they go like this, when you do the RPM, it's not very strong. It goes back and forth into the tube, back and forth like this, and you can see the two helix, two different directions. And this is what I call the energy of life, the two helix of life, create life. Now, if you look at your DNA, the way they put the helix in the DNA is totally wrong. It's just like a ribbon twist, right? They twist it, and then, like, you know, the ribbon's get a little cut off, and you get a little bar in it. It's totally wrong. I mean, it's so wrong. They give you the sign of the helix of life through the symbol. Red Cross have the badges with the sword, and the two snake comes around. They pull in two different directions around the sword, right? This sign is a metaphor. Okay, you see the two snake going in two different directions, not like this. They're going like this, right? And over the sword, where the sword is the medicine delivery. That's your delivery of the medicine. This means if you have medicine in that sword and you poke it to it, you will deliver the medicine, and wherever you put that sword in. It's just a metaphor, but the symbol is right. That's you have to understand. A picture means thousands of words, you know, and a few words in a phrase doesn't mean much. So that's why they use picture. Same thing with all the symbol and you know, the Arabic, the Hebrew, the Chinese, the Japanese, the Russian, the Bulgarian, you know, they all have their own language, all have symbol, except us. Pretty ironic, isn't it? We don't have any. English, the race of English doesn't have a symbol. And there's a lot of other country in Europe, they call themselves a country, but they don't have their background doesn't have any symbol. You know, so it's kind of funny. For some reason, we just kind of pop out of nowhere, and hey, we here. You know, cowboys and Indian suddenly, right? So just a little something to ponder on. But when we got a double helix. To release the energy of a double helix is a mutation. And you have to engage a mutation on a nice way. When you're doing on a not so nice way, which we have generator, diesel, gas, natural gas generator, steam generator, you name it, right? We have all those. It costs a lot of energy to make this double helix, to force this double helix to have its own, to release its energy, because it's got this energy have intelligence. I don't know why, but it have intelligence. It makes decision. It figure things out which way it should go. So anybody who stop and make a decision, anything who stop and make a decision, does not have to be somebody, have to have some kind of intelligence. So I put an end to intelligence energy. Now, to remove, I mean, this helix at that point in time have a massive amount of energy, but he's stuck in the helix. So to remove the helix, you got to crank that voltage with the helix on the highest point, higher as you want, because the big power plant, they have no limit. You want more voltage, they pump, they roll more water, right, to turn that turbine faster, and you get more voltage coming up. You want less voltage, you slow down the turbine. Same thing with the steam and the nuclear. Nuclear is just a hot water kettle, makes steam to turn a steam turbine, for the steam turbine to turn a generator. So, there's always something in motion in a power plant. But, they never tell you how they do the mutation, because it's the biggest secret. Biggest secret of Westinghouse, Rothschild, the Morgan, all the big guys there who run the world, the 1.5% run the world, they all hold that secret but so tight, because if that secret is released, that means they lose control. They totally lose control of the population, because not the population, anybody, can release energy. And it's not, and they're so afraid because they're using that energy to create a weapon against us. And now, I'm telling you where this energy is, and then what you do with it is up to you. So it brings the fight to a more even plane, another word. Now they're not the big smart people anymore, because they never were smart in the first place, because they didn't invent and didn't discover the damn thing. Tesla did. So and that's the reason Tesla, after he reappeared, he didn't last very long, 3.5 months I believe at the most, and then he was dead. So because he didn't want to work with them anymore, he had enough. He just wanted to die in peace, and instead they literally killed him. So now we know how to release this is through spark gap. If you look at Tesla, it always has spark gap, because that's the only way you can remove a sine wave. And you need a special material to release it. I mean, you can release it to stainless steel rod, or this and that, but the best material is pure tungsten. And pure tungsten, if you really look at it, is just like in the same family as iron. It's got iron. Iron is in the iron family. Magnet will stick to it, or you will stick to a magnet, but it's more like a crystal, because you cannot bend a rod. You cannot flex a rod. Never mind bend. I'm talking about flexing a rod of tungsten. It just snap. So this means it's like a crystal. It's like trying to bend a crystal. So if you push it through the tungsten rod, and you have cut in your tungsten rod, all even, everything, the power jump from one spark gap to the other side is losing the sine wave. It's been removed. And then it's not just that happened. That was when Tesla was explaining, magnification and amplification. And the magnification and amplification happened in the spark gap, which I proved that on video before, showing my coil without spark gap, and my voter machine only put up 47 volts, something like this, and then if I put 2 spark gap in it, I'm jumping above my meter, it jump over the 1200 volts. So just the spark gap itself, they're the one to do that multiplication. It's not a transformer, it's a spark gap. And then I find out down the road that all the big power plants have spark gap. They're using it. I finally find someone, like I said, in Dubai, who explained when an accident happened, this big long drum barrel or whatever with 3 high voltage horn on it exploded, and part of the power plant exploded, and they never know what it was inside to. They saw the inside, and it was a 6-inch rod, 6-inch of solid tungsten, and that was a big power plant. So they know you have to remove the side, and it's exactly like my voodoo machine does. When you put it through a spark gap, you remove the side, and resonance fill up the room coming out from the coil, or a bifour, a pancake coil, or I'm telling you, you just take the power line coming out of the spark gap, right, and you can go right back to the beginning of the spark gap, and the end of that wire will jump into the system by throwing extra volt back into the spark gap. That means I have way more volt in the end, like by the thousands and thousands, than what I'm putting into the spark gap in the first place. And no one can explain that so far. I showed that on a video, I showed that everywhere, and no one really commented on that because they have no answer. So I guess my answer is probably better than anybody else right now, because no one have an answer. No one have an idea you want to touch that, right? And this is why research is so important, because whenever you don't ask a question, a researcher have to go there and find out why. Right? When you're afraid to ask a question, you'll never find out. So that's why I go after when I don't have an answer, is because something is wrong there. So I go for it and go and find out. So anyway, now we release the energy. Then you have to compress that. Now you have a whole shitload of energy coming out now. Wild stuff, right? Now we're talking about, it's getting very tricky, because now it's just like playing with a porcupine. You don't play rough with a porcupine, right? Because he got coil. So you're going to end up with a whole bunch of coil on you. So you have to handle it very carefully, because now he will reach out and touch you and you won't like it. He will vaporize the water in your limb and your finger, whatever you touch it, he will go after the water, because it's the first thing it will evaporate out of you. Now we have to compress that. We have to compress this wild, crazy thing. Well, how can you compress a wild, crazy thing when you can't touch it? Thought about it for a while, and I said, okay, now we have spark gap removing the sign, we have this wild thing coming out of there, and how are we going to compress this thing? Because that thing want to go everywhere at that point in time. Like, you want to go somewhere. The energy is unbelievable. So now we have to go through another process, which is called chopping it. We'll have to chop it. We'll have to chop this energy. We have to give him a boost of compression. So what we do is we send it through a wire, and it will butt itself against, it's like a valve. It stopped, and then the valve open, and then it stopped, and the valve open, and then it stopped, and the valve open. Just like a garden hose. When you have a garden hose and you put just a straight little high pressure nozzle to shoot far, right, and you put a little fan with narrow blade, and you put a gauge right where your nozzle is, and then you check, you make the fan spin. Every time the water hit that blade, the pressure goes up in your line, and then soon the blade passes that, all that pressure back feed down to the line, and then soon that blade is not it releases that pressure, and that's where the jet goes farther than just a straight jet constant. Right? That's called that. I call them. Let's call it a reverse hammering system. It builds pressure by itself without adding other energy to it. So if we chop it off, when the power plant says we have to add the cycle to it, well, the cycle, everybody says this is the AC wave. It's not the AC wave. There's no wave there, right? The wave is down the road, like we're not there yet. So we chop it up. So that means we release on and we turn it off at the proper time and space. That means all the bursts are exactly the same line, and between each burst is got an empty space exactly at the same line of the burst is. So when we do that at 7,200 cycle a second, that's mean not 7,200 a minute. So I'm sorry, not a second. 7,200 cycle on off. 7,200 cycle a minute. That will give you a 60 hertz, right? Because now we have the hertz will calculate the amount on and the amount off, right? Because your hertz equipment, only pick up the high and the low, so it can give you a distance in the calculation in between. So now we have a 60 cycle going into the line, and it travels really fast. As far as I'm concerned, travel way faster than the speed of sound, speed of light, because it's literally instant. Because that's not AC yet. That you can't call that AC because AC is not manufactured yet. See, everybody think AC manufactured in a power plant. It's not. AC is manufactured way down the line. Matter of fact, your AC is manufactured in your pole transformer. The watt is manufactured in your pole transformer because there's no watt in that line. Even if it will vaporize you, it's still no watt. It's called potential. Potential is pressure and is resonance and is slash. Now we have a massive amount of potential. Now it comes thousands of miles from the transmission line, and we have high voltage transmission lines. Some there are two, maybe now probably about 3 million volt. And we also have low voltage transmission line. The reason we call low voltage transmission line is because it's still on a cycle system. It's not turned to a sine wave in watt yet. Because sine wave in watt, you can't transmit very long. It doesn't transmit at all, literally. I mean, if your people doesn't believe me, get yourself 200 foot of extension cord, and then put a scale saw or any type of electric would desire, 8 to 10 amp in the end, and you will smoke, and 20 minutes that thing will be burned because the voltage is way down and the amperage is still there, so you're cooking at that point in time, right? You're burning everything. Now, as it travels the line, we have high voltage transmission line, low voltage transmission line. I think our low voltage is lowest one. It will be 7,200. So I'm not too sure if it's any lower than that, but I think the lowest one we have here in Canada is 7,200 volts on the transmission line. And then it goes to, you got a pole and you got your transformer and a pole, and they connect the transmission line to the high voltage wire or horn of your pole transformer. Now that's what the magical get. This is another mutation there, because now we're traveling that with a line, right? But inside that transformer, that line stopped. So there's a mutation happening right there, because it's got to get out of that line, because we have a lot of pressure now. It's got to turn itself, because it's coming from the power line, or not the power line, the transmission line, as an RF, resonance frequency. And then you have to convert itself, mutate itself to radio frequency to be able to shoot itself across the insulation, because that high voltage wire is wrapped around the transformer inside, and the end of the wire is not connected. So therefore that's a transmission antenna. So it's transmitting into those plate, or at the transformer they have wire inside, flat wire, square wire. bigger and stuff like that. I like the one with the plate because they're easy and they're most efficient, especially the aluminum plate one. So, and you have insulation in between. You have, I believe, between 3/8 to a ½ inch thick of epoxy insulation. So you have to have radio frequency transmission because it's no wire connected to the other plate. So that energy have to transmit. It have to jump that insulation. So it will jump to the first wrapper plate, which is X1, the second wrapper plate, which is X2, and the third wrapper plate, which is X3. Now I have people phoning me with transformer, and some places they use X3 as neutral, and some they use X2 as neutral. Now figure that out why it's all mixed up. But anyway, I had so many people, they opened that, they said that doesn't make no, it's different than what you say. I said, it's a lot of different transformer, how they work and how they mark their stuff, but you should be the closest plate to the transmission wire would be the X1, the second plate would be X2, and the third plate is X3, would be your neutral. That's your return gate, because that pressure goes through your transformer constant. Even if you use power or no use power at all, that have to go back to the factory. You cannot withhold the pressure, because, for example, if you disconnect the neutral of a transformer and it's nothing to draw to absorb the pressure from the house, you disconnect the 3-wire X1, X2, X3 of the house, and you disconnect the neutral from the pole transformer to the neutral line underneath the transmission line, and you re-energize this transformer. Guess what happened? It exploded. It exploded from pressure. Okay, only pressure can make things explode. Same thing with any explosive whatsoever. An explosive is not really an explosive, it's a high-speed accelerant. That means it burns and creates gas, develop gas very fast, and it creates pressure and the thing explodes. So that's how it works. So now we know that gate have to be connected because it's got to leak back into the neutral line. And the neutral line, you say, well, how come we don't feel it? We can't actually touch that wire or not. Or you can put an aluminum against a neutral line, aluminum later, and walk on it and grab when everybody's using and cooking, and you don't feel nothing. It's one reason you don't feel nothing is because up the stream they create a demand in that line, a fake demand, and all that power is returning back to the factory and is recycled. That's why. Before we didn't have return line, we didn't have neutral. We had, it's called earth ground. It was the earth ground. It was an 8-foot rod of copper pounded into the ground beside, and that's what all your ground, your neutral, would call whatever it was connected to, and your breaker box. That's it. But down the road they figure out that, hey, we can recycle that. It's just like when you finish with your plastic bottle and stuff like this, you take that back, right? They recycle it. Well, same thing with that. They learned how to recycle a long time ago since they put the neutral on it. So now we know where it's going. And of course I'm going to have so many people that I don't know what I'm talking about, but they never even look at the power plant how it works, so that's okay. Like I said, let them talk. When we have that conversion done again, now you have AC. You get your perfect AC wave. Well, that's what the oscilloscope will tell you. AC wave is a little bit more different. It's just the up and down. It's like a mad cat, right? Air is standing, all the hair standing up. But our oscilloscope or our Hollywood equipment gave us this nice little wave, so we can manipulate, we can play with that. And then also, drop the voltage and first plate and the second plate, at 120 volt, regarding to how much wrap you have, the displacement of the plate and all that stuff, right? That's what drops the power. And then the watt is suddenly the watt is being born, right? That's how watt happened. Well, watt is amp, right? So many watt equal an amp. So now we're having low voltage with a lot of heat in it, which is watt. And you cannot push that very far into line, you're losing. because it's not made. This is where you have to use that AC power or energy, like very close to where the source of manufacture is, which is your transformer. And if people don't believe me, well, just go and look in your power and look at your transmission line and look at your power line. That's why they call the line along your street in the air, it's a transmission line. When it come from the pole transformer to your house, that became a power line. See, transmission and then power line. When you turn to AC, it's power line. When it's not AC, when it's high voltage, it's transmission. Very important to make those two differences there, because they're two different animals. So literally now I just explained you the $1 million question. You know where the energy comes from? No? Up and down? All you have to do is vacuum it, concentrate it, manipulate it, doing is a little gig going through the whole system, get the mutation done properly so you don't have to force it, let it do itself. It will do that all by itself. It doesn't need you. Just give him the tools and the energy will do that. Right? When you force it, that's what it costs you so much. That's what the generator we have generator, they said, and you can't run your house in a generator. It costs you like $1,000 a month and to fuel this thing in maintenance. It's not feasible. Why? Anybody can answer me that why question? Why a generator is so expensive to run compared to what we're getting from the other one? It's because we're forcing it. So if you stop forcing it, then you will be able to turn with a very small primary mover, because you have to understand, everything on this planet has to have a primary mover. It doesn't matter what you do on this planet, right? I mean, this spare plier here, right? It doesn't function if I don't use my energy to open up and close it. That's called a primary mover. I'm the primary mover of this plier. And then this plier can do labor for me, chop wire, which I can't do with my finger, right? So it's just a question of being able to see and understand what are we doing, what are we understanding, and what we're going to do with it, right? And, at that point in time, like I just explained you the basic fundamental of energy, what we've been using for so long we didn't understand it. So, I mean, I can't do any more anymore. I mean, I'm waiting. I'm going to do my own tests and stuff like this. But on the explanation, it cannot be explained any other way. So, everybody's, oh my, yeah, but why cannot understand? Well, just go back again and re-watch the video and listen. Listen. Just pay attention to the words. Simple as that. Pay attention. If you don't pay attention, you ain't going to learn nothing. Right? Simple as that. So, but anyway, that's my explanation. I want to give you as clear as possible. As you can tell, I didn't drop any bomb. So there you go. So I enjoyed that one. And I have something to say about also. I want to, just give you a little tip here on the Las Vegas shooting. Now, in the Las Vegas shooting, everybody are all like, who did this and who did that, who did this. Everybody, every person who got hit, who got wounded, and the one that dead, carry the answer where the bullet came from. It's called that geometry finding. That's mean geometry finding is, they've been using it, and every place with this gunfire and murder and stuff like that, where the bullet come from, right? So every time you shoot something, it will be an entry and an exit, especially on people, because they're not a very big solid mass, so a bullet will go right through them, especially a high power rifle. So the people who have been shot, all they have to go back there, they know, let's say if you shot in the legs, right? If they were standing when they got shot, they'll remember that. Believe me, that's not something you forget when you're getting shot. Believe me, it's not something you just blank out of your mind overnight, okay? You have nightmare of that shit for years coming. They will be able to stand exactly in the position just at the time they got shot. And you look at their wound now, and the angle of the wound, they will tell you if it's coming from the top of the building, the middle of the building, from the left field, from the back parking lots. Everybody carry the answer, and no one is talking about that. Why not? You know, why not? Oh, they don't. They want to tell you, you know, the guy who was laying there, who bought all those weapons apparently, and was laying there dead because he killed himself, he's the guy who shot all that stuff and so many directions, right? Well, this guy, as far as I'm concerned, he was dead probably an hour or two before the shooting started. He never pulled around on that, because the way he was laying down, and he was laying perfectly straight, like someone carrying, put him there, just like you put somebody, the body on the morgue table, right? And he had an AR-15 with a bipod perfectly across his leg, midway from his knee to his ankle. So someone who shot himself, the gun fell perfectly in the right position. It's not sideways, not beside him or nothing. It makes no sense. Plus, and the sound, I've been watching tons of video, private video, and one of the sound comes up. I counted 62 shots, and they were perfectly one after another. You cannot do that with a magazine. I don't care. Even the best drum magazine, they jam those fuckers constantly. I never see one work properly. And not only that, you can't shoot that out of a semi-automatic, that many rounds all in one without damaging the barrel or jamming the gun. It gets so hot, the last shell will jam inside the chamber. I'm a weapon technician. I was qualified as a weapon technician for 4 years. I was TQ3. And you can't do that. And that one there had a nice tapping. It was a .308 caliber. It was tapping, and the sound was really, the cycle was really slow. It was belt fed. Only belt fed can drop 200 rounds. When you shoot a full 200 round can with a belt fed machine gun, if you want to shoot again, normally you have 2 barrels. It takes 2 seconds to change a barrel. I mean, ask anybody in an M60, you know, and the twist is different. The ratio of the twist for a semi-automatic rifle for civilian is really tight because you want precision. And the machine gun is just almost 1 1/4 twist for the whole length of the barrel because you want to spread a funnel. You don't have accuracy. A machine gun is to spread a funnel. So when you're shooting, it shoots wide range at long distance. And some of the sound had no echo. Some of the shot had no echo. That means they were too close to have an echo. Because at far distance, the bullet will hit you first, and then you hear the bang after. You know they all say, by the time you hear the bang, it's too late. Right? Because the bullet has already went through you before you hear the bang. They had no time between. So that means they were really close. They were not that far. And then you say, some had, you can hear the bullet hitting the pavement because it's a different sound. It's a splash, not a bang. And then you hear the bang after the splash. That means that had distance between the shot. I mean, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to do a proper investigation. You just have to use common sense. And using a head who actually have common sense, you have to have that tools first, right? You can't go dig a ditch, right, if somebody gave you a crowbar, because it's the wrong tool to do that. You need a shovel. So you have to have the right tools. So you have to have logic. And logic is a tools to use. And that's what I use all the time for all this crap I'm doing, with logic. So, but, and I'm just saying, you know, to me it's just like another, just like in the 9/11, Kennedy assassination, and all those people are just disappearing because they have evidence and something, they just die, drop dead of no reason. You know, to me it's the good old-fashioned CIA. That's what they do. You know, I mean, we all know about it, and no one's doing nothing about it. But at least I've said my piece on it, so you can take it, with a grain of salt, or you can take it at his word and do your own research, and you'll find out. I'm telling you exactly how things works. Everything is mechanical. We're living in a world of mechanical function. So everything can be duplicated in a mechanical way. If we can duplicate in a mechanical way, that means your hand can duplicate everything with logic. So at that point in time, that's all I'm going to say. And hopefully my controller will arrive today or tomorrow. And I will be studying it before I hook up everything up, and then I'm going to start really slow on it and hook it up to a motor and see how it reacts and what I can do if I'm, without damaging it, and I will let you know the results. But in the meantime, you guys have a good day, and hopefully I gave you food for thought. So that's all I have to say today. So enjoy it, and you guys have a good day, and be safe out there, because there's a lot of crap and a lot of lie out there.